Greetings to all our learners. Welcome to CEC lecture. Dear learners, the topic of analysis is Environmental Agenda and IR Perspectives. The topic that we shall deliberate upon is Environmental Agenda with respect to the bigger framework of perspectives in international relations. In the lecture, we shall explain and deliberate upon as to how ecology, environment and other related issues are an important component of international relations theory, as well as they have a bearing on the practices, issues of global governance in the realm of IR. The lecture shall also explain with examples inputs from history of IR, contemporary issues, that how environmental aspects are important for international political agenda, global governance, amongst others. In the lecture, we shall have an understanding as to how ecology, environment, they are related to several aspects of international relations. They have a bearing on the revisions that have come up with respect to international relations perspective, and above all trying to understand the balance between issues of sustainable development and issues of balanced use of natural resources. Dear learners, let's understand that when we try to look at our international relations in the first half of the 20th century, let's understand that what was the focus of the study, the practice and above all the actual realities of IR. It was on statism, state as main unit of analysis, self-help, survival, interstate conflicts, amongst others. What happens here, that is the first chair of international relations that emerged in the discipline. It was the Woodrow Wilson Chair of International Politics. It was there in 1919 in the University of Wales. Now, what does this chair tell us about aspects of international relations? The significant dimension to comprehend here is how international relations emerged as a formal academic discipline in 1919. Herein, once again, we have to read between the lines that IR in this aspect, the focus was on the history of diplomatic and political relations amongst the nation. And to add to that, there was lack of scientific and theoretical study in IR. With the interwar period 1919 to 1939, wherein there was debate between idealism and realism in international relations. Let's understand here, realism stresses the competitive and conflictual side of international reality. As opposed to it, idealism or its refined version liberalism tends to emphasize the cooperative aspect of international reality. With the end of the Second World War in 1939 and new developments in other social sciences, one finds that there is emergence of behavioralism, scientific theory building. There is a break from the previous approaches which emphasize an objective, quantified approach to predict and explain political realities. The focus then was, with the behavioral inputs and other changes in the academic disciplines, on understanding the reasons behind action behavior of the states and also other international actors. The interwar period, which brought in two aspects, namely the power vacuum, and related to it was the economic recession. Now, this was followed by rapid industrialization, and there are critiques that account for the fact that rapid industrialization led to unsustainable exploitation of natural resources. Now, this also increased imbalances in nature. What one finds here is industrialization, and of course there are cases that were emerging pointing towards exploitation of natural resources, and the bigger picture that was emerging was imbalances in nature. For example, increased global temperature, greenhouse gas effects, issues and debates on ozone depletion. The focus therein was on interaction of humans and natural world, role of natural resources in global security and political economy. Dear learners, it is important to point out here that how for the very first time, which really got a debate within the realm of social sciences and international relations to witness that Rachel Carson's work, Silent Spring, 1962. The book pointed towards adverse environmental effects caused by indiscriminate use of pesticides. The impact of this work, Silent Spring, was that the book that sold more than 2 million copies, if we go by references provided to us from NewYorkTimes.com, that is how the book, which sold so many copies, it pointed towards a very important idea that if humankind poisoned nature, once again quoting from New York Times, nature would in turn poison humankind. And most important, how this work helped to launch a modern environmental movement against the hyper use of pesticide, which could risk both human health and natural species. With time, one finds that the first Earth Day, 1970, yes, the first Earth Day took place on April 22, 1970. Firefighters, the Battle of Fire on Ohio's river in 1952, how the polluted river caught fire on several occasions, and then how it led to pollutions at water levels and other natural aspects. A blaze in 1969 comes, and all of it, it tells us that over a period of time, there was recognition for the need for environmental awareness. So, what finds here is that such instances also showed that Earth Day celebration in 1970 factored in an important aspect with respect to practices also in everyday domestic and global lives. That is, one must recognize the importance of protecting the earth, natural resources, awareness, appreciation for the earth's natural environment. The Stockholm Conference, that was United Nations Conference on Human Environment, it was a declaration of international protection of the environment held in Stockholm, Sweden from June 5 to 16 in 1972. The meeting agreed upon a declaration containing 28 principles concerning the environment and development. After 1980, since the discovery of the hole in the ozone layer, that is 1985, scientists from the British Antarctic Society announced the discovery of a huge hole in the ozone layer, and this was in the scientific journal Nature on May 16, 1985 by the 3 scientists from British Antarctic Society. It's very essential for us to have a scientific understanding here as to what is the ozone layer as we take our discussions forward. Dear learners, ozone layer is a region of the Earth's stratosphere which contains high levels of trioxygen, which effectively blocks much of the sun's most harmful ultraviolet radiation from reaching the planet's surface. What one finds here is how with time environment became an important aspect which led to influence on policy making, inputs that one must take into account while working out both domestic and global policies. Important to point out that how joint UNEP, WMOI, ICSU conference, it was convened in Villach, Austria from 9 to 15 October 1985 with scientists from 29 developed and developing countries to assess the role of increased carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Why this conference was important? We take this input from welfarecenter.org, that is, there was emphasis on scientific facts, unique quality of international group of scientists, new perceptions of opportunity for action for international environmental programs. With time, the agenda of sustainable development too made inroads with respect to policy perspectives, and IR also witnessed that. What is sustainable development? Quoting from the most important Brundtland Commission report, that is Our Common Future in 1987. Sustainable development is defined as development which meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The definition of sustainable development, as we pointed out, was given by the Brundtland Commission in its report, that is Our Common Future 1987. Dear learners, it is important to emphasize here that three core elements of sustainable development are economic growth, social inclusion and environmental protection. The establishment of the International Panel of Climate Change IPCC in 1988, which is an intergovernmental body of the United Nations that is dedicated to provide the world with objective scientific information relevant to understanding the scientific basis of the risk of human-induced climate change. IPCC was created to provide policymakers with regular scientific assessments on climate change. Though we all know that the greenhouse effect was first noted in 1827 by Baron Jean-Baptiste Joseph Fourier, who was a French psychiatrist who discovered that how Earth loses by infrared radiation. E.F. Schumacher's famous work, Small is Beautiful, a study of economics as if people mattered. It drew attention to an important aspect, that how capitalism it definitely increased living standards, but natural resources should be conserved. Industries, large cities would lead to depletion of natural resources. Another important work which made an impact with respect to policy and inputs with respect to international governance was Peter M. Haas, that is Saving the Mediterranean, the Politics of International Cooperation, Environmental Cooperation. This examined the Mediterranean Action Plan from 1972 to 1987, and this book, it pointed towards the manifold threats to Mediterranean region and how it points out that emerged a large amount of cooperation of new form, more comprehensive, future-oriented, sensitive to environmental linkages between issues than that was to be expected. Now let's understand how does environment then make inroads with respect to perspectives in IR. Realism is one of the grand theories of IR, and for the realist, it's a state which is the primary actor in international politics. Nowhere when we look at the realist literature, there is a mention of harmony between environmental ethics and human ethics. The neo-realists also, they assume anarchy in international systems as the principal force shaping the state action. The issue that comes here in that is that when climate change is one of the biggest global challenge, can we afford to ignore it just because it does not fit into the framework of statism, self-help, survival that is there within the traditional realist image of a security threat? Today, climate indeed is a non-traditional new security threat, and therefore there are remarks by various organizations, activists, media to take this input from AmericanProgress.org that how one must look at the realist case for climate change cooperation, because today environment is a global challenge. The issue that is, can environment be in nation's priority if it is concerned with national security? To quote from americanprogress.org, Ken Sofer's view that climate change is the greatest long-term risk to global security. A realist analysis of the issue says it is time world leaders starts acting like it. Regimes, we all know, they are sets of principles, norms, rules, decision making. Young, Keohane and Nye, they have been advocates of the regime theory. Climate change, no doubt, is a global phenomenon, and neoliberalism, when we look at the works therein, it links economic prosperity with environmental protection. What is essential to be seen that with the establishment of Global Environmental Facility established on the eve of the 1992 Rio Summit to give developing countries funding for innovative projects that generate worldwide environmental benefits, or United Nations Environment Programme leading Global Environmental Authority to set the global environmental agenda, having headquarters in Kenya, Nairobi, and a part of the United Nations system, or amongst others, we find that today how environment has become an important agenda, where norms, regimes, institutions, new aspects, new forums, from Global Environment Facility to United Nations Environment Programme, they have a bearing on the agenda wherein states exist with non-states actors. Then also at the same time, the focus of the both policy and practice of global affairs, as contrast to the realist perspective, shifts from towards the aspect of relative gains, where economy, human resources, ecology, sustainability, circular economy also have a bearing. An important perspective in IR has been the feminist perspective. To quote from this report from greenpeace.org from Ana Arias, Monica Perella and Taitena Nuno, pointing out that how feminism and environmentalism go hand in hand, because women face greater burdens from the impacts of the climate change. Related to it is the perspective of anthropocentrism, that is, human beings, if they are the most important entity in universe, human-centered, that is the need of the hour for any policy. That is, one must relook at it, because root of ecological crisis lie here in this human-centered activities. The term ecofeminism was coined by Francois de Yorbon, wherein the patriarchal structure of the society and the political authority were seen together in a manner that caused for exploitation of women as well as over the nature and environment. Important to point out that how Marxist literature also witnessed a revision wherein ecological concerns made inroads. The book Marxism and Ecological Economics Towards a Red and Green Political Economy points out towards some important aspects, that is, how can Marxism help ecological economics full its commitment towards methodological pluralism and above all looking at interdisciplinarity. Then how, when we look at the bigger picture of visions of structural economic change that confront the biospheric crisis. To state here, Herbert Marcuse's very important work, that is Ecology and the Critique of Modern Society, 1970, that is how it pointed out modern capitalist economy, competition, industrialization, technologies, how they dominate both human beings and natural environments. An important perspective in IR has been postmodernism. Michael Foucault is always and often re-invoked for understanding any crisis, and environmental crisis is also one of that. Eco-governmentality expands on the Foucault's genealogical examination of the state to include ecological rationalities and technologies of government. Lastly, dear learners, as we all know that globalization has accelerated the structural change, altering industrial structure of the country, and at the same time there are issues of resource use and pollution levels. And to add to that, environmental globalization has also become important, that is internationally coordinated practices and regulations regarding environmental protection. So to conclude, what we see here is that IR perspectives have witnessed revisions because environment today is an important agenda, ecology today is an important security threat, and its impact cuts across traditional aspects of boundaries, borders, and traditional aspects of delineating, contouring realms of political science and international relations. Climate change, biodiversity have a wide-ranging impact, as well as they present wide-ranging environmental issues in international relations which must be factored in. Perspectives in IR, as we saw that how ecology and with respect to issues of competition, working of capitalism, need for respecting diversity, issues of green political economy, amongst others, have a bearing both on theory as well as perspectives within the realm of international relations and global governance. We hope the lecture gave you significant insights as to how environment, ecology, issues of climate change, biodiversity, sustainable development, amongst others, have a bearing on various inputs and ideas that go in perspectives of international relations. We look forward to positive, encouraging feedback from you all. Thank you very much for being with us.